you already knew I would come searching anyway. So I sailed across the sea to see if you were there waiting for me, but you were not. So I sailed back with a broken heart. I waited till 3 to see if you would come looking for me, but you did not. So I fell asleep with a broken heart.
I'm going to start the show, Gary. We'll figure it out as we're going along, okay? If you can hear me. Okay,
Hello,
we'll start the
hello.
show. Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm over here trying to be all technical with stuff. I got my good friend and Dr. Gary on the Zoom on the other end, and we're trying to figure out all the audio and stuff because we're trying to be like everybody else. We want to put people in boxes and
Try to
stuff
get 'em all tied in.
and get them all tied in. But we got to figure out doctors.
How about now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, hey, there you are.
All right, good. Sometimes it takes a while.
Yeah, like everything else.
There we go.
Yeah.
It took a while for us to hook up again.
Yeah, good to see you again.
Yeah, man, it is good to see you. You know, it's that's the funny thing about life, especially when you're really living it. You go through and you meet some really cool people, but you're always moving, and some people sometimes get, you lose connection, and it's very interesting. And I want to give Facebook a big shout out because that's how I keep up with certain things is through Facebook, people's birthdays, and then oftentimes somebody. I think the way that we reunited is that you sent me a thing that said, hey, you sent me another friend request. Was that you? And I saw your name and I was like, that's Dr. Savell. That sounds very familiar. And so then we reached out and then found out, yes, we do know each other for ever.
Yeah, and we're both playing music and trying that out too, which is kind of cool.
Yeah. Now, are you getting good volume on him,
Good
Don?
volume. Could you make his screen bigger?
Okay, hold on. He wants your screen bigger, Doc. Hold on. He's challenging me to use some technological skills here.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
I could use it. These headphones might make a better sound if you
No,
want.
that's fine.
Yeah, no, I'm in a little studio setting, so
This is good.
Okay.
so he's handling all that. All I got to do is act like I can press a button.
Yeah.
So anyway, so yeah, we hooked back up, and and interestingly enough, guys, as I said, Gary, can I call you Gary?
Yeah,
Can
absolutely.
people call you Gary?
It
Or
can.
would you prefer Doctor?
And Gary's fine. I'm not hung up on the title.
Okay, 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 Doctor Saval. how do you actually say it? Saval, right?
Actually, it's actually a British name. It's they pronounce it Savile, pretty much there,
Savile.
but everybody says Seville here, so
Yeah, so
I
you
get
just have gotten used to it.
it. Yeah.
Well, it's ironic, or no, I guess there are no real coincidences. I meant to say coincidence instead of ironic, but that over the last few years, I've been focusing a lot of my attention on addiction, and I have my own experience as part of my training. I've done some training on my own, and and I've just been a guy here who's been passionate about trying to get some answers for some people who I know what they're going through. You know what I mean? And so it's very. I'm just so happy that we crossed paths again and we talked, and and found out that yes, you do some addiction treatment. Is that correct?
Well, yeah, I have to qualify that though. I've done a lot of addiction treatment in the past in a variety of settings and detox settings and residential, outpatient. I'm right now in kind of a small private practice I have. I'm doing therapy, after, someone has kind of been absent or has their, substance abuse under manageable control for a certain period of time. Because, once a week, therapy is not really, going to do the trick, depending on what stage of recovery you are at. And, we could talk about that too.
Okay, let me see if I get some feedback here. If I turn this up, so maybe I can I hear him better if this was up?
If you could, go for it.
We're using you as a guinea pig, Doc.
That's all right.
This is the
Not
first
the
time.
first time. Not the first time. I've been used as a guinea pig.
There we go. Let me hear you. Test 1, 2.
Yes, 1, 2, 3,
Oh
4.
yeah, that's awesome. Look at us. Listen, for about a year and a half, right? I sat here and it was just my head on this screen, right? And it would just be talking, say, listen, guys, you could do it. Rah, rah, rah. If I did it, you could do it. And so now it's starting to take on a life of its own, which is what I was kind of waiting for. And so I'm really excited to have you here. We're here with, I don't guess, unless you're looking at the show on the Recovery Room on your Facebook, you don't see what's happening actually on the other side. You kind of just see me and you.
Okay.
If you can go on the if you would go on Facebook though, you'd actually see the actual show.
Oh, I see. Okay. Right.
Because right now what you're seeing is just me and you, but there's actually on Facebook we're doing stuff. And listen, I'm just here with you too. I forgot they were out there. So anyway. We got our producer Don Dean back there with doing all the technical stuff, and then we've got Christy here, who you can't see her there, but if you're looking on Facebook, she's my girlfriend and co-host, and has been on her own journey with recovery over the last little while. Yeah, last damn odd years of her life, and so we find ourselves in a very interesting place. And glad to have you on. So you're saying that when you start talking about therapy. Well, no, let's go back. We were talking, and you said that you had participated in a few research things on it at some point, hadn't you?
Correct. Gosh, it's been years ago now, but about 20 years ago. Well, I'll just put in a little bit of context if you want. And when I first started getting into the field, when I was in the early 80s, people with, substance issues would, and also, because right now, I don't know how you've talked about it in the past, but most people with substance issues also have some behavioral health issues also. And it's hard to find people that don't have a little bit, whether it's depression or anxiety or personality issues. So people would come to mental health and they'd be using substances, but they might also be anxious or depressed, or could even be psychotic. And they'd say, I need help with my depression. And the psychiatrists or mental health professionals would say, go deal with your alcohol dependence or your substance abuse first, then come back. Then they go over across the street to the substance abuse treatment, and they'd say, oh, you're too mentally unstable for us to treat you, so go over to mental health and get your treatment there. And so people would go back and forth like a ping pong ball, trying to get treatment. And then finally, and psychiatrists were reluctant to prescribe, antidepressants or other medications that could help with mental health issues for people, using substances. So then people started getting smart and wise and thinking, well, maybe we should treat both at the same time. So you've heard about dual diagnosis programs. We usually call them co-occurring programs. And then there was this abstinent-based model, really. That was, if you can't use anything, so Dartmouth University got a lot of grants from SAMHSA and they did research studies in certain areas. And I was in Hartford, where one of the populations were, I was working at a community mental health center. And we had a large population of people that were very severely disturbed mentally, but also were using, hard substances in a way that was not, really decreasing their functioning. And so we participated in this study where they had this, what they call stage-wise treatment approach. And really from a harm reduction model. And I probably will need to maybe talk a little bit more about that. I don't know if the audience has heard that term before.
Harm reduction?
Yeah, so
Yeah,
it's really like, taking somebody from where they're at. So I'm using a dramatic example, but they're actually real live examples. I mean, we were trying to treat people who were, severely psychotic, homeless, living under bridges, and smoking crack every day. And how do you treat
Sounds
somebody?
like me. No kidding.
Yeah, so how do you treat somebody like that? What do you do? I mean, you say, well, no, they can't be treated. So it's like meeting somebody from where they're at. So, your first conversation isn't with them, okay, well, you got to stop smoking crack. No, it's like, what you might, talk over, giving them a sandwich or a blanket or talk about the weather. So it's really trying to engage somebody and build a relationship with them, a non-threatening relationship. Excuse me, my mouth is dry. And then building on that relationship and helping them slowly kind of look at what they're doing, and if they can develop some long-term goals and try to get them to see a discrepancy between what they're doing now and where they might want to be in 5 years from now or 5 months from now. And so the initial goal isn't abstinence. The initial goal might be having them be able to talk to you for 10 minutes. And then maybe the next week, maybe it's 20 minutes. Maybe after that, they can just talk about their substance use. So it's really sort of getting people to develop, not initial, not confrontation, just developing a relationship, having people talk about it, and have them kind of arrive in their own way to recognize and become aware of what they're doing and what the consequences are for their life. So eventually, harm reduction doesn't mean it's anti-abstinent. No, not at all. Abstinence may be the final goal, but along that road, you don't give up. You treat people where they are. Relapses are a part of recovery. And, a lot of people might disagree with me, but I think that, and by the way, this is the model that SAMHSA has adopted from out of this research.
Now, SAMHSA, give us the acronym for SAMHSA.
Yeah, it's the, you're gonna really test me, I should know this.
Gotcha.
It's substance abuse, I'll tell you exactly what it is, but it's a federal agency that really looks at substance abuse treatment.
And did they have anything to do with the financing and all that, how money's allocated and that kind of stuff? Because one of the biggest things that we have going on here is that you got people that, yes, that are willing and wanting to get the treatment and the services, but without health insurance or, a wealthy family or whatever the case might be, there's no treatment. There's no option for it, especially any kind of individual therapy. Because there's a lot of group therapies, obviously, but and sometimes you need some individual stuff. So a lot of times it's a systematic thing about our healthcare system, which I guess is a whole nother conversation for her.
Oh yeah, definitely. Well, SAMHSA is a Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services agency.
Did you hear that? I'm having a Don Lemon moment, so I was thinking, man, I wish I had somebody like typing that out so people can see it on the screen. But could you say it one more time? It's the
Yeah, I'm going to give you the website too. It's
Can you say it
www.s.
slow because she's going to type it in?
Absolutely. S as in Sam, A as in Apple, M as in Mother, H as in Health, S as in Substance, and A as in Apple.gov. Now that's a great website because they have lots of resources on there,
Thank you, Doc.
including ways of getting help. And yes, and they do provide grants. Now, of
Okay.
course, these days that might be more of a, a difficulty, but yeah, so that's the governing issue. But, the other interesting controversy, I think, I don't know how much of a controversy it is now, is, is there a middle ground where people can use substances and not have negative consequences for it?
Yeah, that's like the Holland kind of method or whatever, where it's free, like have at it, take some of the like the taboos, like your mama told you don't do it, and that's the first thing that you go and do because of the taboo part of it.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get Christy on the screen somehow, Don, and maybe she can ask the doc a question.
Well, can I, just a quick administrative issue. When I go on the Facebook website, I don't see a way to see the recovery room on there.
Well, you go to my page, go to Terry T-Bone Rhodes.
Yeah, that's where I am.
Okay, and then just scroll down. It should be there. It should be streaming live already. All you got to do is scroll down.
YouTube is Recovery Room SRQ.
Yeah,
I see an old one that's going on.
really. Christy's watching it over here.
Huh.
Do you have YouTube?
I do.
If you go to YouTube and type in the Recovery Room SRQ, it's streaming there as well. Christy's checking that right now too. Yes, and it's there. So maybe that's a better option for you is the YouTube. We're streaming it live on YouTube too, so I'll send you that link so you can send it to people or whatever the case might be.
I got it. I see myself on there.
Yes. Oh, wow, there you are.
Yeah.
All right, so could you show him Christy and let Christy ask him a question?
I got it. I see myself on there.
Oh, wow, there you are. Okay, now it's on to my turn then. Christy and let Christy ask him a question.
I see myself on there.
Oh, there you are. I can't mute mine, can I?
Yeah, I had to get on. There's a lot of feedback.
Okay, all right. Well, there we have it.
Ask me-
You'll be able to go back and look at it, and hopefully look at it a few times and send some people to it because you know what? In the course of how long we've been talking?
18 minutes.
In the course of about 17, 18 minutes, you've given us some valuable information that we would have never had otherwise. And our only goal here is to be able to disseminate information and that there's somebody, because I always know that there's somebody sitting there, whether they're surfing the channels or whatever it is they're doing, that they ended up landing on this site. And they just mess around and hear something that they, needed to hear at that time. You know what I mean? And so, and in that case, our work is done for that day. You know what I mean?
It's a great thing you're doing. It's a great thing you're doing because you can't talk enough about it or a very, especially these days too, with the COVID-19 going on. I mean, there's so many interesting studies that could be done. I'm very curious as to whether this pandemic and isolation is sort of increasing the risk of people,
Yes, it is. I'm going to say yes. I'm on the side of yes.
Yes, I think so.
We got a good friend, and you'll meet him, Dr. Howell. We've got you and Dr. Howell, and we've got Barry, he was voted the #1 peer counselor in Florida this year, and he's a good friend of mine that comes on the show. And so now we've got some real experience and along with our passion and all that. And I think maybe now we'll be able to reach more people. And I guess what I'm asking you is that I'm hoping that you'd be wanting and willing to contribute fairly regularly, once a week or whatever the case might be. And so we can get your insights on what we do, because we call ourselves hope dealers. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
absolutely. It's all about hope.
Yeah, so we're here doing the hope now. If we can get the people the information and the resources, and then
We try to advocate and resource and support and do what we can because, thankfully, like you said, with the COVID, the resources and opportunities that were once out there have really deplenished for a lot of
Yes.
ones that are stuck out there and have either lost their insurance or lost their, resources and doctors or, just didn't have it to start with, and times have even now gotten harder, so anything we can do right now, we're really trying to put together a group and do what we can. So
Absolutely.
it's great to have you on and
Well, this area, there's thousands of different topics to talk about and issues. And so I'm not, what do you think would be most helpful for your listener to focus on?
Well, I mean, you use the key word, and I think that's the thing that I talk about the most, and convinced is the most important part, is the word behavior. And so, I mean, and that's what the psychological part of it, right? It's about our behaviors. It's about those things. And we were talking about it today because on our post, and I'll send you an invite to join the recovery room. That's our little Facebook group of the people that, that are part of our family.
Okay.
And on there we got people that have been through the same thing we've been through, and we share our strength and our hope with
Yeah.
them. I lost my chain of thought, but
sorry. I was going to say on the behavior part.
Oh, yeah, the behavior part.
That I have found a lot through with the addiction that it is that kind of through the surrender part that whether it's mental illness or it is just through a trauma or the counseling, but it's that behavioral change, whether it's through a MAP program, whether it's through the counseling, through the 12-step, however you do it. It is, I think, well, I know it was for me, it was a behavior change that really got me to that point of maybe recovery or sobriety or, I think that is very important and it's very life-changing, or it's that step. It's very big.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the behavior change really, it starts in a lot of different ways, different for everybody, but you really have to sort of, it's really a mindset change too. You first got to be aware of what's going on. If you don't have awareness, then, you don't know what to change. Once you're aware of what's going on, then you can start to identifying, then you can start to make changes and try to make changes. And it's a hard road, I don't have to tell you, and to make those changes, to be disciplined, to try to get your mind stronger, and resist craving, resist the pull towards that state that substances give people.
Yeah, that's when you definitely have to have your mindset, and you have to personally, that's a personal thing. You've got to be ready.
yeah, I think the most helpful thing that we can do is just spend some time talking, because that's what we do, but now we can add a different perspective to it. And, we talked about behavior, we talked about the coronavirus, and what are your actual thoughts on it? Do you think that it's blown out of proportion, or,
Well,
a lot of people, I know some people that have been in the house since February.
I personally, overall, don't think it's been blown out of proportion. I know some people talk about, mass hysteria and all that. I was doing martial arts training right before the pandemic started, and I know my sensei, he thinks that people might be overreacting somehow, not doing things, but it's a real thing. I know, and I think in Florida here, especially Sarasota, a few weeks ago, at least I talked to people, do you know anybody that's had COVID-19? No, not really. Well, in Connecticut, where I kind of came down from before I came to Florida, I know 9 people who have had it. 3 have been in the hospital, 1 on a ventilator for over a month. and almost died. Has come out of it with diabetes, which she didn't have before. This virus is a serious thing. It really kind of attacks different areas of the body. Some people it doesn't hardly affect, it seems. So it's kind of a scary thing. And I think, what's happening now, I mean, look what's happening now. Sarasota Memorial, I think, is at capacity almost. And they're saying now, people, unfortunately, I think this country has gotten to a point where the division, between groups, Republicans, Democrats, Trumpsters versus anti-Trumpsters. I mean, it all seems to, some of these things about whether to wear a mask or not, it almost seems, you get the impression that, I know I'm making generalities. If you're a Republican, well, you're against wearing masks. And if you're a Democrat, you're for wearing masks.
That's
Everything gets so politicized. The fact of the matter is, I think it's pretty clear that those areas where everybody wore masks and, even when they were actually went in and got their hair cut and, people were wearing masks doing the hair cutting, patrons were doing it, they didn't come down with the virus, at least this one little anecdotal group. In other places where people aren't wearing masks, it's spreading. And they say now in Sarasota, 80% of the cases at Sarasota Memorial Hospital are community spread by young people. They're not seeing the nursing home and elderly high-risk people, there as much as the more younger people are getting it. So it's I think it's real. I think you got to be careful, very careful. And I think, like if you're respectful to other people, empathic for other people, you wear a mask to protect them. It doesn't protect you as much as other people. And of course, if other people wear it, they're respecting you and protecting you. So I'm kind of on that. That's where I kind of stand with that. I think it's going to be here for quite a while. We just got to try to learn
learn how to live with it.
I mean, they're crazy times. I mean, we haven't, I wrote a song about this. This is like, we haven't seen this before. It's almost like being in war,
Yeah.
And it's affecting people like it hasn't before. It's just a whole different era.
Well, it certainly is a psychological war thing, which is based on all of these different the chaos around it. You know what I
Yes.
mean? Like you said, the political aspect of it, the wanting to be a logical thinking person, that you think that you're trying to make the right decisions and, that kind of deal. So it's like so much involved with it. And so here we have an audience of people who were already in their own epidemic, which was starting to look like a pandemic with opioid addiction and the overdose epidemic, and then you compounded that with the corona, and then you put the racial thing on top of it. And so this is that powder keg, but it's the powder keg for me of awakening. It's like, for me, it's like saying to everybody, they paid you, they gave you money to wake up,
Yeah.
You got a chance to sit back, have a few dollars in your pocket, and think about your life and what it is you really want to do with it. And this is what it is. And so all of this is going to pass. Well, first of all, we're going to pass at some point. I don't care if Corona or whatever. We're all leaving here. 100% of us are leaving here.
That's right.
Right. And so it's and so I'm here saying to the addict, that's especially those that are active right now, and it's had to be crazy, this first shutdown, and then there seems to be a looming another shutdown. You know what I mean? And so it was tough then. It's going to be tougher than now. And so, how do we get to you now? Now's the time to buckle down. Say, I'm stopping. I don't know, like you said, it was just I'm stopping. I'm going to be abstinence. But you certainly got to start the thinking towards
Yeah.
it. You know.
Abs-
Put something in there.
That's where we are. You know what I mean? And if somebody that's just sitting there on the edge, and they're about to fall off either way, and if we can just tip them this way that they can experience what it's like, first of all, because there's a success element here. People that make it through this thing, you have the right to feel successful, to have really accomplished something. You know what I mean? Because this is one of the toughest things. Addiction is one of the toughest things on the planet. And I don't care whether it's donuts or, the ponies or, pornography or whatever.
That's right. That's right.
And so,
Yeah, compulsive behaviors are very difficult to change. I mean, quitting smoking is
oh man, it's the toughest one.
tough. It's very tough. Yeah, it's crazy. You're absolutely right. Yeah. So I'm happy to come back.
Okay.
As I think it's a great thing you're doing, and it's a nice forum. I think talking, we can also talk about specific
Yes.
treatment modalities,
Right.
maybe what people can do even at home to sort of, reduce the risk,
Okay.
and to help all that, deserves a lot of time, a lot more than in an hour.
Yeah. Well, I have this initiative that we've started called A Healthy Community, and it encompasses everything. It's a big, huge, big, gigantic project, but it's doable. I mean, because the way I see about it, the way I feel about it is that we've got to do that. We've got to make sure our community's healthy. We've got to make sure that the kids are eating, and that, if there is somebody that needs something like some kind of health care or mental health care, those kind of things are available to them in the community in which they live in, And so I'm going to be, and I've been reaching out to the people that I know, and I'm glad to have you on board because, yes, you can give us some treatment modalities. We can, because I got this I try to simplify it. I said I got this thing called the 2190s. If you do anything for 21 days, it becomes a habit. You know what I mean? And so I suggest that you think positive, and that's broad. That's that's a really broad stroke. Think positive for 21 days. But what I really know is, like, if you got a bad thought, replace it, or at least put a good thought next to it.
Yeah, that's the basic of cognitive behavioral therapy and cognitive restructuring. You try to identify those negative statements, those negative thoughts, the sort of schema that you have going around. Always got some sort of tape in your mind all the time, and awareness, identifying them, and then try to replace them with some more positive thoughts, constructive thoughts is right on. I mean, I believe most behavior change and flows from changes in thinking. And of course, different things can trigger that and help that. But unless you start changing your thinking and almost make a kind of a commitment to yourself, and it requires a lot of discipline, to do that and to say, okay, well, I'm not gonna, I'm really not gonna drink today, or I'm not gonna, pick up today. You make that commitment, it means something. And then the other thing is, if you end up doing it, not to try to beat yourself up about it and think of yourself as a failure. That's another thing. Old substance abuse treatment used to do that. They used to shame people all the time. I remember there's this famous treatment program in Texas, I think it was. I think it was Synanon, maybe. I may be wrong about it.
I didn't sound familiar to me.
People would go there. They used to make people wear diapers and walk around just to sort of humiliate them and break them down. I see where they're going, but it's not. It's not
Yeah, I see where you were going with that, but
not a good treatment. you want to build up the positive. You want to build up strength, focus on people's strengths, what they can do, and not fault them or
I
consider
look at it
themselves
so,
failures.
I make it
It's,
like 5 hours without using.
yeah, exactly. I mean, it's just everybody's at a different place, and appreciating where somebody's at, listening, validating where they're at, and then together in a partnership, try to move forward to recovery and more constructive lifestyle.
All right, last thing before we go. I got some people on the line who suffer from severe anxiety. And I know that's
Okay.
another broad stroke, but give them some kind of technique, something to do
Okay.
at the height of their anxiety, if there is such a thing.
There is such a thing. Let me, am I able to, maybe I
Share the
can
screen.
actually. I can actually, I can send you something, a file on here.
Okay.
This is a little technique that people have found helpful. I sort of put together. It's kind of a combination of some mindfulness and cognitive restructuring things. Call it a slow down technique.
Awesome. Boy,
So,
moving right along.
let me just get this up
We
here.
have Christie's conversation. We went and interviewed Dr. Hal last night. And we'll talk about that because he's one of these medically assisted treatment specialists.
All right, so I just sent it to you. You might, if
Okay,
you
it says
might,
share the file in the meeting. Yes.
you might need to download it. But this is kind of a basic little technique. If you're really, really freaking out, you're anxious or disturbed in any way, feeling a lot of cravings, if you can do this, it can help. Because one of the things you want to do is, craving is like peak. It starts, if you start feeling the craving a little bit, it gets more intense, more intense, more intense, more intense. And then people start, using somewhere along here. If you can do it, if you can hang on long enough, the peak you'll reach it, and then you start coming down. The craving gets less and less and less. So part of just buying some time and delaying your response and not just acting on craving, which is kind of a feeling, is a good thing, or your anxiety. So this technique really involves, first of all, sitting down somewhere, stopping your physical movement, and doing some slow diaphragmatic breathing. Now, if I come on more, I should tell you more. I mean, breathing and breathing techniques are just incredible for dealing with anxiety and depression, a lot of things. So you start doing the breathing, and then there's a technique. One of the steps on it is observing and describing your external environment. So if I was in this room and I was feeling really, really anxious and I was just really beside myself, I'd be doing that, and I'd pick some object in the room, like I'm just going to use my room back here, and back there I see a contraption. It looks like it's an inversion table, and it's black. It's got some white writing on it. It's a chrome thing. I would go around the room and just describe what I'm seeing to myself. I could do it out loud, or I can do it. You could do this in a crowd of people. Describe it, because you can only focus on one thing at a time. I mean, you can go back and forth in milliseconds and things like you're thinking of different things, but at one particular point of time, your focus of attention is on one thing. So as I'm describing all this to myself, I'm sort of, I'm distracting myself away from the anxiety, away from the urge, away from it. And it buys me more time. Then I go down where you kind of observe and describe your internal environment. So here you're going to sort of scan your body in three ways. You're going to kind of just focus on what physical sensations you're having, just observing and describing to yourself. I got an ache in my right toe, or my left shoulder's tight. I'm feeling tightness in my chest. Observe and describe. And then the third thing, and the most important in my mind, is you well, no, I'm sorry. The second thing is you observe and describe your feelings, your emotions. How are you feeling? Feeling anxious and feeling depressed, angry, guilty, shame, whatever it is. Try to identify it. And this also increases the awareness of what is going on with you. It's so important because that, whatever's going on with you while you're experiencing these cravings, the more you intimately get to know that gives you more options to intervene. And the last thing is your thoughts. What am I thinking? What are the associated thoughts to this anxiety, this discomfort? And then the last thing is you take action. So what are you going to do? So you've done this whole assessment of your thoughts, your feelings. So maybe you say, well, I'm still feeling anxious and this is kind of relaxing me. I'm going to sit down and do some more slow, deep breathing. Or I'm feeling a little bit better now. Maybe I can go do what I want. Or the craving subsided. I don't feel as strong as that. Maybe I'll go make myself a cup of tea or coffee or something. It's a little kind of technique and formula that one can practice when you're not feeling upset. So when you are, you can sort of get into it. And you can take a half hour to do it. You can do it in 3 minutes, It's so it's really kind of lowering the energy, focusing on, slow, deep breathing. And when you do slow, deep breathing, you need to be able to breathe into your lower diaphragm first, and then your upper diaphragm, and then exhale just a little bit longer than your inhalations. In and out through your nose. There's lots of breathing techniques that are more vigorous that are very helpful too, which we could talk about in a different stage. But that's just a little technique that you can sort of try to assess what's going on with you and sit down, calm yourself down, and just try to relax and just assess what's going on with you.
Sounds good.
Nice. Good stuff. And listen, the beautiful part about it is that this is recorded for posterity, and people can go back and rewind it and fast forward it and do whatever they need to do to be able to get that methodology down, because that's what we're talking about. You got to have a technique. If you're sick and tired of being sick and tired of the same thing, you got to try something different. And that's why I'm happy that you're able to give us some sort of clear
and that's kind of those
method.
the making the changes, trying something new instead of reaching for your bottle of Xanax. It's okay, find your pillow, find your focal point, and breathe. You got to retrain your brain, your thinking to, what's the next bet? what's something else we're doing? It's retrain.
Yeah, absolutely. So if I might, just real quick, I have I think there's 4 pillars of quality of life here that is really, really important. And I'd say the physical training is so important. The more physical training you are, exercise, cardiovascular, stretching, that is great for anxiety. It's great for everything. Breathing, like we're talking about now, and even more breathing techniques. When you breathe, you are oxygenating your system, your blood, your brain. And guess what? Viruses, bacteria, cancers, they don't like oxygen. Your immune system gets better. You're more resistant. Call it whatever you want, mindfulness, meditation, some sort of practice that allows you to control and gives you the ability to detach yourself from thoughts coming in. And then, of course, diet is another thing that, I see 4 kind of pillars of, if you can really get a schedule to attend to those 3 things, you really can get onto a nice path.
Wow. Well, thank you for simplifying that, because that's what you just really did for me, and probably a lot of people out there. It's simplifying. Because this is the only life we got. You know what I mean? And if you got off to a bad start, and you picked up some bad habits along the way, now's the time to change them. If you're tired, but you see, here's the thing that I know, having done this so long, there's some people who just love it, and they're not ready for it, and so those are not the people we're talking to.
Right. Yeah,
You
Yeah.
know, you try to save
And of
everybody
course,
that you can.
let's not forget, bring music into your life. It's a
Oh,
wonderful
yeah,
thing.
well, yes, sir. And we're going to get together on that as well.
There we go.
For sure, we'll get
Okay.
together on that. And I loved your song, and we're going to do something with it. I might start playing it at the beginning of my show. I've been playing this song, Broken Heart, by this young lady that when I first started doing the show, she was 12 years old when she wrote the song. And I've been playing it ever since, you know, as kind of like our opening theme song. But, you know, maybe time for a change. We'll see.
Yeah.
But anyway, we're gonna talk afterwards, and we'll schedule our next time.
Okay,
And
sure.
you know, appreciate you coming on. And you know, I'm feeling like Don Lemon or Chris Cuomo or one of those guys. You know, I'm in a box. I'm in a box.
You got your box,
I'm trying to figure out who do you look more like. You know?
I think Chris.
Okay.
I think so.
All right, Doc. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
All right, take
I'll
care.
talk to you.
Thank you.
All right, bye. I'm gonna try to see if I can get our co-host Sean on. I'm so new to this whole thing with what do you call this?
Zoom.
That I had two meetings going on at one time, and Sean couldn't get on because it said that I had another meeting going on. So that one's ended.
He's trying to be greedy and run all his meat.
Yeah, I'm gonna run all my meetings at one time.
He wants more than one box.
Yeah, that's it.
He wants that box.
Okay, so let's see. I guess Sean, let me see if maybe I can get you on right now. You guys talk amongst yourself. Maybe can we do commercials for a second, please?
Yeah.
And then if we can get some commercials in, it'll give me time to kind of deal with this.
All right.
Well,
just a moment. Yeah.
Hi Mario. Hi Judy.
Hey, guys,
Hi
sorry, I was so
Glenn.
into-
Hi Jaquavia.
I was so into Doc, I didn't even recognize you guys. Plus, I was over here and you guys are over there. So, but yeah, I'm glad. I'm hoping that you guys got some information out of that. If not for yourself, then certainly to share with somebody who you know that may be going through some things. And this is where we're going. Apparently, Christy had another great interview last night with Dr. Hal, and he was as candid as he normally is, as you guys know him to be. And we're going to be taking her interview and breaking it down into segments so that you can see, you know, see the whole thing. You know, we can't run an hour at you. You know, your attention span is not that good. I'm surprised you guys watch us this long. But anyway, let me see if I can invite Sean to see if it at least just works. So if we can get this commercial going, we'll be good. The website created to connect our brave men and women of the armed forces, first responders, and medical personnel to our community of businesses and services that honored their service. POWarriors.com, protecting our warriors who protect us.
Spice up your next event with the Hammock Haven Experience. To find out more, go to thehammockhaven.com or call 941-201-5226. The Hammock Haven. Chillax a minute.
421 Sweet Treats.
Hey, I was not able to do it, Sean, so we're gonna practice this and be all ready to go by Monday. I think Sean is decided he wanted to, just for safety's sake, do the show from home. So good thing we got the Zoom now, because the show just ain't the same without him.
Yeah.
But that was good, huh?
Yes.
Good stuff. Don, you agree?
Yeah,
Mr.
yeah.
Producer?
Good Zoom interview.
Okay.
We're getting in on the modern times.
Yeah, it feels like that. It does feel like that.
Well, I think as much as we've been talking about perspective and concepts recently, and so bringing in, between talking with Dr. Howe and Dr. Seville,
Seville.
that you know, just having different input is great.
Yeah. I wish I can figure out, because I think as far as the Zoom thing is concerned, I think the link that Sean has, all you got to do is hit that link, and any meeting that we have comes from this same link thing. You automatically can get into the meeting, just asking to join it. But anyway, all good. So yeah, that was I felt like I was having a CNN moment there.
Okay.
And I was actually really happy for Don. Seriously, I mean, because, you know, we've come a long way, you know, been working hard to get to this point, and I don't know if we, huh?
We didn't know if it was gonna work.
Yeah,
It just happened to come
and
together.
it working, and there's all these tutorials. I mean, there's some things we can do with this thing that is, you know, even more amazing, so.
Well, I do believe it was July 4th when we were watching the fireworks and everything, and everybody was in their boxes, and that's when you said, right, we were
Yeah.
gonna have our own boxes.
We're
And
gonna get
now
our boxes.
it's July 16th, so in 12 days,
Yeah,
yes,
we got boxes.
Don has been fighting for 12 days to make this happen.
Yes.
So,
Yes, and
Thanks,
there's
Ron.
more to come, and so that's awesome. And so, you know, you guys heard me mention, I think, a healthy community. It is part of our Recovery Room COPE International agenda, and that is to create exactly that, to create a healthy community. You know, we talk so much about, you know, kids, the foster care system being overrun now, like up 45% due to overdoses. And then so now you got to talk about factoring, and these kids, a lot of these kids that were parents of addicts had to be home and supposed to be homeschooled, and that parent was not able to do that, and they have fallen so way behind. And, you know, some of them may or not had computers. I mean, all of those things that just shouldn't exist in the world. I think that what Corona has done, and what the Rodney Jones, Rodney Young, all these different things have done is made at least me aware that if it is to be, it's up to me. If I want my community to be healthy, I got to be out there making it so. You know. And I'm hoping you'll join me, because I'll be looking for volunteers here shortly. I just ordered, hopefully, and it's going to be within the next week, I just ordered 21-pound meal packages a week that are going to be delivered. And I'm going to need some people to help put them out there. Okay, and I just had it 100 because I don't know what 100 even looks like. So maybe I can get maybe 500. I don't know. But if it's going to feed somebody, then that's one of the main things that we have to do, right?
and when
Okay.
it's available, if
And-
we can distribute.
And
Yes.
you know, and at the top of this list of the things that are part of this healthy community initiative is for us, because this thing is all about us, right? And when I say us, I'm talking about my fellow addicts out there. I'm talking about 9%ers. I want my 9%ers. We're gonna get this right. Well, you're a 9%er if you've been able to sustain your recovery for a year or more. You're a Nubian if you're still within that first year. She's handling the Nubians.
Hey, and we're fighting every day.
Fighting every day. You're a 9%er. You know, you're one of those people who can get stuff done. You know what I mean? If you've been able to overcome the opioid addiction, to be able to get your job back, and your life back, and your people back, and all those things back, and be able to hold on to it and maintain it, and then to find yourself in that position where you are celebrating your recovery, because every day is a blessing and a miracle.
Amen.
That's what this is all about. And so I want you guys, we're gonna be running tight together, getting our community together. Because when you guys are right, when we got you guys that are really ready to get your mind right, but you just hadn't had the resources in the past, when we give you those resources, you know, maybe you can go into treatment, and then maybe you can come out and go into a sober living facility, such that you can continue on your path of recovery, because you know people, places, and things. That's what happens to a lot of people, right? They find themselves, they're in an institution or whatever the case might be, and they're safe in there. You got people in medicine, you're doing group therapies, and then they open up the doors and they let you back out on the street, and you don't have any place else to go but back to that same place, and that's just a recipe for disaster.
Oh, you go back to the same playground with the same playmates. You end up in the same
Yeah.
cell block.
Yeah. Yeah. Well put. Here. I once again want to thank Dr. Seville, Dr. Seville, for coming on and offering his insight. You know, and this is what I love about him, is that's exactly how I remember him from when I met him years ago. You know, he's there, he's solid, he's got the information, no, bunch of hyperbole.
Hyperbole.
Thank you, sir.
Would you like to spell that, Don?
Yeah, you win the spelling bee tonight,
I
Don.
had some spelling issues earlier.
Hyperbole. So yeah, and I'm excited about the whole thing. When your passion turns to purpose, and your purpose turns out, it turns into something. Then that's when you're living. You know, that's when you're really alive. That's when you can go when you get to the pearly gates, and you got a bunch of people with you.
That's what I was going to say. When you have
You know?
people join you on it too, that's even better.
Yeah. You get to the pearly gates, and you got a bunch of people with you. See, most of us just trying to get there, riding alone.
That's your crew.
Yeah, no, you got to bring your whole crew with you, because that's what they're gonna ask you when you get there. So who you got with you? You know, and you might not be able to bring Pookie in them.
Ooh.
Might not. I don't know. Depending on how they're acting up. No.
Not the way your pook hang out.
Can't bring them. Oh man. So let me see. Let me.
Judy asked if they're MREs.
If they're what? No,
No.
this group is so amazing. This group is called From Farmers to Family. It's very, very cool, and Church of Hope, which is blessed to have hooked up with them, are every week getting 1,300 of these 21-pound packages.
This huge refrigerated truck, I believe.
They got a huge refrigerated truck. So that's what I need to ask you guys. If we start getting it, we need to have refrigeration as well. So I don't know if you guys know that somebody that's got a place, that's got a restaurant maybe, that's got like a walk-in that they're not using now based on what's going on in the world, and then perhaps we can
Do a little
use it.
storage.
Yeah, do a little storage.
A little community work exchange.
Yeah. So a lot of good stuff going on, and thank you guys for always supporting and tuning in and all that type of stuff. I'm trying to get over here to this thing here, so I can do this here. What does this say? I don't even know what this say. I'm gonna put it up anyway because it just looks like it might be interesting.
Okay, there it is.
Oh yeah, that's the one. It's that one. Okay, it's that one. I'll let it go.
All right, Bob.
This might be what it's really all about anyway.
Okay.
Life's journey is not to arrive at the grave safely in well-preserved body, but rather to skid in sideways, totally worn out, shouting, "Holy shit, what a ride!"
Woo!
Absolutely. And this is what tonight's topic, we didn't even get around to tonight's topic, but it was called the windshield wiper. And Chris said, "Well, the windshield wiper, what does that mean?" Well, it's all about perspective, right? Because, have you ever been in the car and when the windshield wiper goes out, it goes out right in your eyesight, right in your eye line. Isn't that always the case?
Never
The windshield
fails.
wiper never fails. It goes out right there where you can't see. And you get there and you get all frustrated and you're thinking, this only happens to me. But no, it happens to everybody.
So we've been talking recently about what's right in front of you. Well,
Yeah.
what's right in front of you?
Yeah.
That darn mark that the
Yeah.
leaves.
I marked it at least. And so, but how do you deal with it though? You know, the question on if you're not a member of the Recovery Room family yet, go to Recovery Room on Facebook and sign up. And the question on there is, are you experiential? Experiential. I thought I made that word up, and then I went and looked that up, and it was a word already.
It's so
And
disappointing.
are you experiential? Are you a product of your experiences? Yes. Are you a product of how you dealt with your experiences? Yes. So our deal, just like the doctor said, is to encourage you to start dealing with your experiences different, behaving better. Nobody told you they love you today. We love you. Peace.
You sailed away and left me with nothing to say. You already knew I would come searching anyway. So I sailed across the sea to see if you were there waiting for me, but you were not. So I sailed back with a broken heart. I waited till 3 to see if you would come looking for me, but you did not. So I fell asleep